from Coventry to read here tonight. And so Frank, please take it away.
Ain't going to be no revolution, not in Boscombe, and not nowhere, without a bit of running. How do you expect a nation of couch potatoes to revolt? No, but seriously, my poems are short. So, I'll make use of that to combine them with a bit of exercise, so that when the revolution does come, I can run away. No, but seriously, point for ageing poets. Whenever I recite my poems, I always wear an hat to help me keep them in my head. No, but seriously, if Jesus were to come back now to earth from paradise, would his first words be, "Hey, wow," or just be, "Jesus Christ"? No, but seriously, in the beginning, wordy word, but that word were not read and were not heard, because there still were no world. So no one can tell whether it were properly pronounced or correctly spelled. No, but seriously, punchline. Floats like a butterfly, stings like a bee. If it don't knock you out, it ain't poetry.
Nice one, thank you. Next up is a poet called Maureen Jivani, who's going to come and read some poems. Maureen, yes, please do come on.
Thanks. Hi everybody. Just firstly say thanks for having me here and congratulations on the beautiful produced pamphlet. It's a real privilege to be in it. I'm not going to do any exercise. I haven't done any in a while. I'm not going to start now. Okay. My first poem is mined from the rich themes of fairy tales, and it's from Grandma's Bed. From Grandma's bed, ridiculous in a frilly bonnet, the wolf's head protrudes. Its tongue lolls from its mouth. The bedside lamp offers no hope, dull in its energy-efficient watt. The wolf can barely see through her glasses. Its big eyes squint at the hands of the clock. The bossy shadows cast on the walls. Its big ears cock at the wind's attempt to copy cat voice, like a child cry fresh from the wind. It makes no sense of this. And where is Grandpa all this time? Scrubbing his breeches out in the sink, in a secret room at the back of the house, stroking his wolf whiskers, aligning his thoughts, consorting with poets and storytellers. Yet who knows what troubles prowl a wolf's mind as it shifts about in its bone and fur. The bearded analyst out in Vienna, the innocent walking alone in the woods, the dreaming parents snug in their beds. I used to do a commute from Surrey up to St George's Hospital in Toussaint for a short time, and the next poem came from just fantasising on this journey. It's called Tunnel's End. Let's say you meet an angel, complete with wings and globe, on the tube to Tooting Broadway, who offers you a crystal glass filled with snow. And it doesn't seem strange, though this is August and the day hot. He disappears into the crowd of Clapham South. Perhaps then you get off the train and see a girl, the one you saw yesterday and each day before, only this time you stop. She doesn't ask for money or a cigarette. She simply holds out her hands. You give her the glass. You touch. The snow begins to melt, and it doesn't seem odd. It doesn't seem odd at all. The next poem is the poem that was in the Boscombe Revolution. And there's a line in this poem that refers to the exquisite corpse, which isn't a literal reference. There isn't an exquisite corpse. It's many of you will probably know, it's a surrealist parlour game. It's a bit like Consequences. And you write a line, you fold it over and you pass it on down to people, and they each write something. And what you end up at the end is a kind of surreal poem or piece or whatever. And it struck me that in a way the National Health has been handled by each successive party, that this is a perfect metaphor for all the changes that are going on and have gone on. So this poem is called Parliamentary Parlour Games and the Death of the NHS. After poker, the House considers the exquisite corpse. Such games will never be relinquished. The distinguished players, sound of spirit, salute the intact, the exactitude of a mindset. The body which pays attention, sits up straight, prepared to denounce, awake as theatre, or a question of semantics. To bear witness to the clock's long hand shuddering past existence. Despite the sobs from the outdoor clan, their fish eyes hooked to a chink in this curtained realm. Thanks for listening.
Thank you, Maureen. Thank you. And now I'd like to introduce Lana Bell, who's going to come and read perform some of her work for us.
Hey guys, what's up? My first poem is called Make Yourself. Adoring oppressors is self-deception, riot on the streets of your self-perception. I said adoring oppressors is self-deception, riot on the streets of your self-perception. If culture holds a generation in its hands, let's make it a raised fist, because our true identities relentlessly, radically exist and resist. With a heart on repeat of dreams, you burn more than you breathe. Listening to the sound of nothing, then creating your own beat. Rhythms of revolution in a sea of masses, jump in and flow. Smashing the fascists, crashing on clashes, expression is refreshing from this repression. Bin man sweeping the floor. No one in the crowd hears his body screaming with sore eyes in the sunrise. Nobody speaks, they have full stops for eyes. I'm talking about a dullness that churns your brain, engulfs your dream, because a smile with closed lips conceals a scream. I rest my head on a vibrating boss window, waiting to be free. Inhaling eyes meditate on a vision of dreams as a global headache surges in a sick system of slavery. Even the working class are divided. Don't let this revolution become homeless and lifeless and hopeless, subsided on the side of the weak-beaten streets of London town, with wet eyes reflecting the sun. And the next one is published in this issue. One sec. So it's basically a dictionary definition poem. So a dictionary definition of the phrase revolution of the heartbeat. Verb 1. Uprising of the working class. 2. Set a light on your heartbeat and feel it burn. 3. Flowing cascade of resistance. 4. Daylight for the oppressed. 5. Community communication. 6. A new style that suits us all. 7. Opening the rhythms of a radical reality. 8. Music from the streets drumming out the sound of your television. 9. Awareness that dreams are wounded with reality and that reality is wounded with dreams. 10. Opening your eyes to what's happening around the world. 11. The end of war, occupation, greed and suffering. 12. Poverty drying its tears. 13. Drowning in the sound waves of a rebellion. 14. The beat of courage in the ribcage of a broken humanity. 15. Brain waves of a riot and a purpose that hurts us into action. Thank you.
Were you going to do another one, Lana?
I was going to, but I could do. Yeah. Okay, this was my first performance ever poem. It's called London's Buddha, about a homeless guy I met in Victoria. We are Londoners, our diversity born crying into the heaps of shops lining the streets. We are the leftover mess of our consumer madness. We are the holders of stress and sadness, searching for sustenance from someone above. Tranced by our dreams as we walk depressed streets, my heart is retro, pouring out my heart on pages in the metro. Let me leave clarity on the track, dreams are sanity. London is the sound of breaking families. Truth rips out of hearts and screams. Buddha is homeless, sat by the Thames. His silent eyes amongst the excess of sirens, dousing the spirit of youth with nothing but lies, flooding the broken streets as old nostalgia cries. His eyes beg for change, but I only have coins. He is London in his eyes, he is London in his soul, he is London in the smell of his clothes. He grins at me, showing me all his broken yellow teeth. He tunes into the colour of his heart, a complexion basking in sunlight. But how can he break a smile to fix the broken years? He eats his cold chips with the salt from his tears. He is full of words of a crying soul that has a firework pulse. Now, everyone appears as tears trickling down the cheek of the street. I'm tumbling down inside the art of his eyes, each minute threatening survival. He can only rely on hope. A child hands him coins, lifts his spirits in a wind that has no warm arms to hold him, just empty air. Yes, I'm coming from your street. I'm coming from the counciled happiness in council houses. I'm coming from the roaring sirens like lions racing down Brixton Street, from the eyes of pain and poverty. Because in London, when you're poor, it rains, and when it rains, it pours. I walk away. He goes to lay on his cardboard boxes, his only warmth, the stars.
We're going to take a short break for 10 or 15 minutes. We're going to show some of the film. A boy shitting out the window of a train. and they stood at the crossing on a dirt road, and my dad thinking it was a fat man smoking a cigar. I thought about Fidel and Che, the G.I. Joes jumping out of planes, screaming Geronimo, because they saw him in a movie. He was played by Chief Thundercloud of Tonto fame. And Tonto meant fool in Spanish, and in Mexico he was known as Toro, an amigo of Zorro, and Geronimo learned to sew buttons on his shirt so he could cut them off to sell on his famous train tours. Guillotines and firing squads, and no cig from Neruda. A hoarse cry of John Coltrane spilling into my naked skull as I thought of Granny and paid the plumber $150 to snake her drain. She ended with a ruptured vagina. My pal said he'd do her for $100, and I put my boot so far up his arse he whistled Dixie for an hour.
I'm going to read a couple of poems about Nepal and then one about alcoholism, just to shake things up. Okay, the first one's called The Week Before Nepal's Exams. The week before Nepal's exams and the weight of the monsoon air has driven us from the fly-filled classroom and onto the edge of the Rapti River. We spread our books, semi-hidden behind the maize fields. Barely retaining the role of teacher, I'm wrapped in a single waterfall of fabric, laughing in a language I don't understand, and before I can remember the word to stop, they all kick off their school shoes and somersault off the banks like spinning reels. The water erupts with a shout of delight, and they reappear as briefly as pinhole apertures before being swept around the flank of the river. My naked toes cling to the lip of the bank, and now I must decide. Identity can turn with the abruptness of a landlocked tropical storm. It occurs to me that the self is not a secreted well inside us waiting to be uncovered, but the ocean into which we pitch ourselves and disappear from sight. The next one's called The Blood and Dust. In Nepal and in countries where Hinduism is a dominant religion, they use a red dust on the forehead to give someone a blessing. My newly appointed mother, Prinka, has a spine like a tarry crossbow. Each palm is an atlas. She marks me wordily with finger and thumb as I stumble to catch the school bus before sunrise. This dust is thinner than a snowstorm, but it gathers in drifts. I have begun to notice it hiding in the creases between pages, the pores of my westerner's shirt, odourless. A bindi can be peeled off and stuck back onto paper, a one-time keepsake, is neatly packaged and self-contained as a cheap tin charm. But with kicker, scarlet dust flurries from my hair for days. During dash-in to tire, the girls wear it thick, it's in the river, I swear I can smell it burning in the rice fields. Here, Prinka's blessing is an enduring blot in my hairline. Her laugh whistles through the gap in her teeth as I inspect the stained stark on my insipid, godless face. This one's called These Are My Mother's Wings. These are my mother's wings, but I wear them around the flat when she goes out drinking. If they were goose white like Gabriel's, I could lean from our high-rise balcony, unfold them till they splintered the sky like it was no more than ceiling plaster, and peel the sun like an atomic tangerine. If they were artful scrap metal like aerials, I would use them to flay the ocean of its wrinkles, repaint it with a geometric series, and float like a healing tin man on my private kaleidoscope. My mother's wings are moribund. You can't hear them, but you can smell their brown leaf aroma. You can't see them, but if you look hard enough, you can catch the way they refract good weather, like a relentless prism tripping the light. And yes, I've grown into them.
I'll just wheel over here. I'll try not to talk too much, but if I do, shut me up, because I tend to. The first poem I'm going to read is one of the many poems I've written about disability. Not necessarily mine, but the idea and the concept of disability. and it's about my alter ego, if you like, called Milo, and I've written a few Milo poems. This one's called Milo Won't Go in the Water. 5 p.m. now, and outside, soft light turns the centre's brick pinker than grey matter. Inside, we meet Milo, who won't go in the water like they've said he ought to. See, they want to see him raving and clowning, and no, that's neither here nor there as morals go, just hydrotherapy, a bit demeaning, being flag-bearing hero, chained tangoing bear and buried treasure, but make no bones. He will not be the spacker who drowned in the pool at anyone's leisure. And since I write a lot about disability, more and more lately, I also have been writing a lot of protest poetry in the recent months and years. What with all the sort of government changes and protests happening at the moment. This was one of my first attempts, before I really knew what I was saying, what to rage against, what to protest. It's called Prototype Protest Demo. Say my placard folds itself up so as to fit in my back pocket if it rains and we need to postpone the funeral picket. Say my placard is today laid in the road for cars that runneth over it. Say kids come out, shoot hoops, hopscotch puddles in lieu of anything else to do. A man comes out of his house to survey his mailbox wherein was delivered my placard, which exists in everyone's mind and inspires him to cry. Throw his hands high into the sky, say, and shimmy and shimmy and shimmy like everyone lives deep-ended on it. Say my placard is a 2D tomb. Say my placard is a flat-packed ply with all my people pressed in it. They tessellate, them who were condemned once upon a placard. Say the greyhound lays down with that cat upon my placard. Ah, there they are, lazy-daying, woofing, meowing, laughing now, each paw placed so as to pronounce and not obscure what my placard may or may not say. This is the poem I have in Boscombe Revolution, which is a really cool thing and I'm really proud to be in it. Been thinking a lot about revolution lately. It's called the Boscombe Monitor, and just in case anyone doesn't know what that is, it's a species of it's a medium-sized species of monitor lizard, and they're quite popular in the pet trade and especially in Boscombe. The name Boscombe Monitor, it's obviously short for Boscombe, so it's sort of so the lizard is sold in a lot of shops in the area, and it's sort of a Boscombe mascot really, and so that's part of what's in the poem. The Boscombe Monitor. Breaking, God scaled and just as agile, an escapee through arms unused to handling him, he's watched us from his second-story vivarium since the Occupy spirit scratched across Boscombe Crescent. News, rich people paying rich people to tell middle-class people to blame poor people. A mascot in more than name, like some local Samizdat rag, favourite of pet retailers, we need him. Because from behind his misted glass, he watches our crashed resort. It scrounges free from our cramped existences for the time it takes to buy school uniform and groceries. Because of all the monitors in stock, vivariums stacked like bedsits, he caught the moneyless eye fastest, so he may save us. The others sold when the world began to swing in their favour, rubber bullet grey, the tongue a fair-weather rioter, occasional, camera-shy, the rest of the body robust as a bull terrier, all but him. Because only human, we recoil when told he's dog tame. He sees everything, and this unsettles us, harbours no secrets, needs no voice to protest, cause and complaint irrelevant. The violent strike at a consumer's arms all there is.
First, I'll say thank you to Paul and Si for choosing one of my poems, and it's a big honour to be in the very first issue of Boscombe Revolution, and my first poem is the one that's in the pamphlet. And if you're local and from Boscombe, then I hope you'll strike a chord, and if you're not, I hope you'll like it anyway. It's called The Elegant Judge Misspells. I met a woman who will not walk down Boscombe High Street. She is afraid of the poor sartorial taste of the socially deprived. But, for all her fancy dressed-up education, she cannot spell. They are a whole vowel from depraved. This next one is not really revolutionary, but well, I guess it's kind of wish I could stage a revolution against old age. It's about watching someone disappear into dementia. It's the kind of dementia where you have distressing hallucinations and paranoia and kind of things like that. And it's called The Devil's in His Head. I crawl in through a cloudy eye as it swivels anxiously toward the waiting axeman. I seek the devil, cunningly cloaked in psychosis. In the filmy twilight, I follow shifting pathways, stepping over pinprick holes of starless midnight from which spectral zombies leer up at me, spidey fingers reaching to touch me, tether me. But I creep on, skirting the edges of an old man's tattered mind. From the corner of my fearful, tearful eye I glimpse them, the devil's workers, flitting, flinging, hiding, smashing. I shout in a silent nightmare voice, to which they pay no heed. I slide from the other conjuring eye, and, turning, follow its gaze. From the bed that gives no refuge, a grinning pig looks on with satisfaction, as the old man, a bony, drooling marionette, dances to its master's tune, stumbling, flinging, hiding, smashing, limbs disconnected from mind and memory. I take him by the hand. I stroke his hair. I give him tea and cake and wash his fear with words for all I have to fight the demons with. He says, I cannot go on. I say, you can. He needs me to save him, and I smile, though I know I cannot, because a small blue pill is not enough. I didn't know what to read last, and as I'm reading last, I chose this one because it's kind of got a sense of finality about it, and there's no particular reason for writing it other than I had a dream about flying, and it made me remember how when I was a small child I wanted so much to be able to fly just on my own. And it's called Flying. I'm falling, faster than the rain. Chill air rushes up to meet the voice that calls my name. A question, will I die? The words hover, dance an aerobatic do-si-do. A statement, I will die. This first certainty of my life brings an unexpected sense of exultation. As a child, I longed to fly, desperately, fervently, small heart cracking when forced to confess it could not be so. But it is so, it is. Laughter bubbles from me. I twist and turn and cry, I am flying. Almost there now. I hear the voice still calling, and another sound is me screaming. I open my eyes and see the ground, slick and wet. I hold my breath and shut up.